In this short tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to create a simple interest rate calculator with JavaScript. But before we dive in, let me show you how it works. So if you insert your principal amount, let's say you are investing 10,000 and you're going to be getting 2% on your investment, and let's say you're going to be investing it for 2 years, which is the duration. Now, if you click calculate, so this is calculated in Naira, or this is converted to Naira. So if you check your interest rate at the end of 2 years, it's going to be 400 Naira. And if you add the interest rate to your principal rate, which is going to be 10,400 Naira. Now, that's not all. Ideally, for you to make another calculation, you have to refresh. But we had a button here that can help us refresh. It's just going to reset our form so that we can perform another calculation. Let's just check it out. Okay, so instead of you hitting the reset button, we have just a reset button here, and that works perfectly. Now, what happens when there's no input? We also still added a function that whenever there's no input at all, the user is going to be aware, which is this error message: try input number in the fields. Okay, and these are things that we are going to be checking, and we're going to be building it with JavaScript. So let's dive into it. Currently, our JavaScript is empty, and let's walk through the file structure. If you check the file structure, you're just going to see CSS file and CSS folder and JS folder. Then we have index, then we have percentage. Now, the file that we're going to be working with is the percentage.index.html. Now, our JS file is also rate, which is empty. Now, the CSS is what we use to style it, which makes it look this beautiful. So for us to work with this, our focus is going to be more on the JS file. So we're just going to open the rate. Now, if we go to our page and just try to do something, nothing is working yet because the JS is not added. If you click reset, nothing happens. So let's just do it gradually. So I think let's just try to let's try to share the screen. I think I want this on the side. Yes. All right, so I'm just going to close the tab. So the first thing we want to do, or the things we need to just understand in this very functionality, is that we have to declare two functions. One function to do the calculation, to handle this calculate event, and another function to reset the fields whenever we finish a particular calculation. So I like to use the arrow function, which came with the latest JavaScript version, ES6. To declare the arrow function, I'm just going to say const calculate. Then I'm going to have my parameter, then the arrow. Okay, so that's the arrow function for calculate. Let's do the same thing too for reset. We're just going to say reset. Okay. Now that we have these two functions declared in our JS, we need to actually imply them on the HTML. So let's look at the button that is triggered. Now this is our calculation button. So the form is just normal form and your input. So you can see the input is wrapped in a div just to be able to attach all these icons. And we have ID to each of the inputs, which we are going to use our JavaScript to target them. So you can see we have ID for principal, we have ID for rates, we have ID for duration. Then we have the button, which is going to actually trigger the calculation. So for us to assign the event to the button, we can just use the onClick event. That's whenever the user click, then we want to run the calculate function. Yeah, so whenever the user click, we want to run the calculate function. So let's just go back and test it. Let's say whenever the user click, let us alert hello. Whenever the user click, we want to alert hello. If we come and we'll click it, we should be able to see hello. So which means the function is working. The next thing we want to do is also add events to this reset. So let's just go target our event. So this is the button for the reset. So also let's use onClick. OnClick, we want to target the reset function. So let's test that too, that it works. So whenever the user click, we also want to alert just reset for us to be sure that everything is working. Alright, reset. So we are sure that our function is working properly. So we are just going to remove all these alerts and start declaring algorithm or the process that will allow us to perform this task. So if you've used some sort of JavaScript before, you know the first thing we are going to do is to target our input feeds. So we want a way to be able to handle the input feeds. So remember I said we used the ID here for the rate, we declare ID for the principal, we also declare ID for the duration. So it's time for us to target those inputs in our function. So first I can say let principal, so we are declaring a variable, let principal equals to, so let's get our document.getElement, get element by ID, then remember the ID name is principal. Okay, so because it's an input field, what we want to do is to get the value. The reason why we are targeting this is actually to get the value. So we're just going to undo the value as that. No, just value is fine, not node value. Yeah. So let's target the other input field. We have the rate. It just changes to the rate. Then change the ID to the rate. The same thing too for the duration. So we're just going to say the term. We're going to have duration, the value. Alright, so the reason why I'm using term here is because our formula here is principal rate times the rate, that's the interest rate, times the term, then all of them divide by 100. So it's what we're going to be using to calculate. So I just want this name to tally with the T here. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we also need to target error message. Remember, we declare the error empty message. So let's target that as well. So we're just going to say let's empty message equals to, so let's just copy this, but this time around we don't need a value. So let's just target empty. Let's take this out. Okay, so now we are sure that we've targeted all the values. Then we also targeted the message so that we can print a message whenever we detect that the fields are empty. So the next thing we want to do is actually check if all the fields are empty so that we can print message to the user. So to check if the fields are empty, we just need to use the if conditional statement. So we're just going to check. So by default, the inputs are going to be 0. So we're just going to check if they are 0. We want to tell the user to input figures. So first we're going to do is if principal equals to 0 and if rate equals to 0 and if term equals to 0. So we want to actually print the message to the user. So all we just need to do is to target this empty message. This is empty.inner HTML. Then value, just going to say try input number in the fields. Okay, semicolon to close the line. Now let's check it out. Let's just check what we've done so far. So let's just leave a comment here and say we want to check if input is empty. Alright, so if we still check, nothing is happening. Okay, yeah. So right now we can see that our event is working. If we refresh, so whenever there's nothing here, we get this message, which is pretty okay. So the next thing, now that we know that we can print a message to the user, the next thing is to use an else statement. So if the field is not empty, which is going to be else. Okay, so if the field is not empty, we want to carry out our calculation. So which our calculation is going to be, let me just put more space so you can see. Our calculation is going to be interest rate. Let's just call it out simple interest rate. So it's just going to be P times the rate, then times the term, which is the duration. Then we want to divide it by 100. So this is the calculation that we're going to perform here. And to do that, we just need to create a new variable, which is going to undo the actual interest rate. So let's say let interest rate equals to the calculation we want to do. So we're just going to say the value here times this. So for us to do that, we just need to say principal value times rate times term. Okay. Now let's console.log this value and let's see what we get. Console.log. So let's just say interest rate. Okay. So whenever there's a value, we want to just multiply all the value that comes in. So let's check what we get. If we click with our figure, we should get this error, but how about we put a reasonable figure? Let's say 2, 2. Okay, we can't see anything, but let's inspect. We should see that we have an answer here, which is 40,000. Okay, so what is left now is for us to divide it by 100. For us to do that, let's wrap it in a bracket. Remember your board mass, so whatever is in the bracket is going to calculate first before what is outside, before the division. Okay, so if we still save it and let's try to input figures, let's say 1, let's say 2. Let's check our console. You can see we have 6%. So now we're sure that our percentage is okay. So the next thing we need to do is now to calculate just to get the principal return. So we want to add both the interest rate and the principal amount. So that shouldn't really take us time. We'll just do let ROI equals to the principal amount, principal plus interest rate. Okay, this should give us, so whatever percentage that comes as a result of our investment, we want to add it back to the principal amount. Now, we need to do something here. You need to be able to convert it to integer. So we need to be able to convert it to number. Whatever number comes really from here is always JavaScript renders it as a string. For us to be able to use the toFix function will help us to convert it to either 2 digits or 1 digit decimal places. So let's just make sure that we convert, or let me show you what I mean. Let us check this to value. console.log. So let us check the to value, interest rate, and the principal value, so that you see that the principal value is actually coming as a string. So I'm just going to say 10,000, just going to say 2, just going to say 3. Let's check our console. So you can see the principal amount is having quotes, which is coming as a string. What I want us to do is convert it to number so that it can be like the interest rate that we just calculated. Now to do that, we just need to call the parseFloat function. Just need to wrap it in a parseFloat function. Okay, so as it is now, it should be converted to a number. So let's check it out. Let's say 10,000, 2%, 2 years. Okay, so nothing's happening yet, just basically because it is being done here. But let's say this same thing, we just copied it and just replace it here. Sorry, I just need to, yeah. So let's say we just replace this. So if we check, and just space it so that you can see. So we just added the parseFloat. If we add 10,000, 1,000, 2, 2, you can see now that we have value number instead of the string. So we're good. So the next thing is for us to print our results in this very segment. For us to do that, let's target this element and also this one so that we can print to them respectively. So for us to do this, so let's just copy this let's duplicate this, but let's declare it outside this function. Remember, we're going to also be using it in this function as well. So let's take it out so that the function below too can access the variables. Then we want to just give it print interest. So let's just say print interest. Now we are targeting interest. Remember, the ID is interest. The next thing is we want to do similar thing to print the return on investments. So it's just going to be ROI, print ROI. Then the ID is ROI. Now that we have those two elements, what we need to do now is we can copy this, still in our else statement. We can just say, then we want the inner HTML. So we want to just print our value. Now, to print our value, we just need to call the interest rate. If we save it and run something, say 10, 100 to okay, nothing is happening yet. Or I think we're using the wrong function. So let's say test content instead. Okay, I think we need to refresh this one. Yeah, so I think we're right. So 22% investment of 20,000 we can get in 2 years. We give you 8,800. Now that we are sure that this is printed, the next thing we want to do is to grab the Naira symbol. So we just check that on Google. Check the Naira symbol on Google and just copy the Naira symbol. So you can use any currency at all. It's just your preference. So I'm just going to concatenate the string. So I'm just going to put the Naira symbol and just add the plus. So if we put in something and just check it out, you're going to see that we have the Naira symbol. But what I want us to do now is make sure that it's in decimal places, because there are sometimes that the Naira won't just come in a round-up figure. So let's put it into 2 decimal places. So for us to put in the decimal place, there's a JavaScript function. There's a JavaScript function called toFixed. So we just need to use toFixed function. So let's just say toFix that's period. Let's try to reduce this more so we can have more space. toFix, you can see. Then we want it into 2 decimal places. So if I run another figure, run by 2, you can see we have 2 decimal places. So that works. We know that even if there's a remainder, it's going to work well. We're going to be able to see it. So the next is to print the actual value. So we want to add this, our new investment returns plus this very value, which is the calculation we've done here with the ROI. So to print that, we just need to grab print ROI tag, which is this one. Then we are just going to also say test content equals to, we need the Naira sign as well. Then we need the ROI. If we save it and let's run it, 1,000, 2% in 2 years. Okay, you can see that we have 40 How about we say 2.5%? Okay, we still have 50%. How about we added something like 102? Okay, this is making more sense. But the thing is, we are not seeing the decimal places, whether something is left or not. So let's make sure that we also have decimal place here too. So we can just copy this and just paste it. So the moment we add and you can see that we have our decimal places. And see that we have the decimal place in order. Okay, but if you check the reset function, nothing is happening with the reset yet. And that's basically because we're yet to do something about it. So for the reset, what we want to do, whenever the reset button is hit, we want to reset all those fields. Okay, so for us to do that, we need to just, in here, we need to target our form, document.get element by ID. So let's see what our form has as the ID. So you can see the form ID is form. So let's just target the form. Then we want to hit the reset button, the reset function. So let's try it out. You can see by hitting the reset function, reset it automatically. So as it is, if we try to reset now, we're already resetting the fields, the input fields. How about this one? So simply put, we just need to target these two variables. So we're just going to say print interest rate dot inner test content. Test content equals to, let's make it empty. The same thing too with print ROI dot test content equals to empty. So this should reset their value as well. So let's try it out. So let's close this. We don't need this for now. So let's say if we have 10,000, 23, 21 years, we can see that we have the calculation and we have both the interest rates calculated with the principal value. Then if we reset and everything works. And if we also click on the calculation without value, we get the error message, which is very handy to make the user understand what next to do. And even if the user inputs one value and skip the rest, so you get just the principal value. Okay, so you can reset, but once the user inserts 20,000, then let's say 12% in 2 years, you can see 4,800 is the interest. Then when you add it together, you get 24,800. And once you hit the refresh, everything works perfectly. And this is how we'll wrap it up for today. So if you want the source code to this lesson is at GitHub, then you can get it. Just GitHub /Noah Olatoye, then interest rate calculator. Then if you check the repository, you'll be able to see the percentage calculator. Then inside the JS, you'll find the rates. So this is the finished project. If you have any calculation to do, you can copy the code and use in your projects. And that's how we wrap it up for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.